Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at this massive change happening in banking. For ages, it was all about local branches, face-to-face stuff.
Right.
But now, it's moving fast towards this global digital landscape, and it's all driven by fintech financial technology.
Yeah, it's a huge shift.
It kind of reminds me of how media changed, doesn't it? From like the local paper on your doorstep to this nonstop global stream of news online.
That's a really good analogy, actually. Spot on.
Is
Just
it?
like you get news from anywhere now, tailored to what you like, the same thing is happening with money.
So our mission today for this deep dive is to really unpack this globalization, this fintech-driven banking world.
Exactly. We want to figure out how it's changing the rules, for the big established banks, for these newer fintech players, and, well, most importantly for you, the listener.
Absolutely. And what's really pushing this? What's the engine behind it all?
Well, it's these innovative services coming out of fintech, isn't it? They're using some powerful tools, things like AI, artificial intelligence, blockchain, that share digital ledger idea, and, of course, big data.
Okay, right. So let's get practical. This rise of global fintech services, what does it actually look like day to day?
I think the first thing you notice is just the convenience
Yeah.
and the speed. Traditional banking, going into a branch,
Yeah.
it has its place, but it often just can't compete with doing things instantly on your phone.
Yeah, like opening an account or sending money takes minutes now sometimes.
Exactly. Applying for a loan, even investing, it's all becoming much more accessible right from your device.
And it's not just one thing, is it? What kind of services are we talking about here?
Oh, it's a whole range. You've got digital payments, obviously, that's almost standard now.
Right.
Peer-to-peer lending platforms, connecting people directly, bypassing banks sometimes, robo-advisors for automated investing, and, well, the whole crypto exchange world is part of this too. But the key thing, I think, is how scalable they are. They can operate across borders without needing, a building on every corner.
That makes total sense. They can reach customers anywhere without that massive physical overhead. And we've seen some big names pop up, haven't we? Companies becoming household names almost.
We certainly have. I mean, look at PayPal. They were pioneers in online payments.
True.
Then you've got Revolut, Wise. They've totally shaken up international money transfers. Much faster, much cheaper usually.
Yeah, the fees are often way lower.
Definitely. And N26 is a great example of a mobile-only bank that works across Europe. These aren't just small changes. They're fundamentally challenging how banking has always been done, offering those seamless, borderless options we talked about.
It's like they've unbundled banking services and just removed the geography part and a lot of the cost. Now, you mentioned the video parallel earlier. Let's dig into that comparison a bit more. What did the old model look like for both?
Okay, yeah. If you think about that shift from physical stuff to digital, the old media model was all about physical delivery.
Yeah,
like,
local paper, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Your local newspaper, maybe a regional one. That was your window onto the world, but it was geographically limited, naturally.
So mostly local news and anything else you had to actively look for. And banking back then, before digital.
Very similar, really. Banking was super local. Your neighborhood branch, you knew the people there, maybe. Building relationships in person. If a bank wanted to grow, it meant opening more physical branches, hiring more people in those specific places. Geography was a huge constraint.
So bricks and mortar were key for both. But then, boom, digital happens. What's the new model for media now?
Well, now it's all digital distribution, isn't it? News hits your social feed, pops up in apps, on websites. It's instant, direct to your screen.
Right.
And the reach. Global.
Yep.
Algorithms often decide what you see, so it's personalized. But you can access news from literally anywhere.
Like the world's library of news in your pocket, constantly updating. And banking followed a similar path.
Pretty much, yeah. Digital banking, mobile apps, online services means you manage your money whenever, wherever. And just like, Facebook and Twitter changed the media game globally, these fintechs are doing the same for finance, enabling global operations. It really could shake up the whole competitive landscape, kind of like how these neobanks, the digital-only ones.
Yeah, the ones without branches.
Exactly. They're challenging the traditional banks that were stuck within their home country borders.
It's that breaking down of borders that seems key in both cases. Global social media changed information. Global fintech is changing money. So let's get specific. How is fintech changing the rules of banking? Where are the main pressure points for traditional banks?
Okay, this is really important. Where's the impact? One huge area is just getting and keeping customers' acquisition and engagement. Old school banks relied on branches, those personal chats. Fintechs, they use digital platforms, apps, social media, online ads to reach people everywhere, instantly. No physical limits.
So banks have had to totally rethink outreach, look beyond just their local town or city. What's another big area?
Product innovation.
Yeah.
Service innovation, that's another one. Traditional banks often have older systems, complex regulations. They tended to roll out new things more slowly, maybe just locally at first.
More incremental changes?
Yeah, exactly. Fintechs, often being startups, they're built for speed. They're super customer focused, using data to whip up new digital products quickly. That really puts the pressure on the traditional guys to speed up, become more agile.
It feels like the whole pace has just accelerated dramatically, and I guess that affects costs too. All those branches must cost a fortune to run.
Oh, absolutely. Cost efficiency is a massive advantage for a lot of fintechs. Operating online means way lower overheads compared to maintaining all that physical infrastructure and staff.
Makes sense.
And that often means they can offer lower fees or better rates, which forces the traditional banks to look hard at their own costs and try to streamline.
Lower costs definitely attract customers. Now, we talked about operating across borders. That must create a regulatory headache, surely.
It definitely does. It's a complex world out there. Fintechs often have to figure out the rules in many different countries simultaneously. It's a challenge. Traditional banks obviously face heavy regulation too, but historically it was maybe more focused on their home turf. Now everyone operating internationally needs that cross-border compliance expertise.
Sounds like a steep learning curve. What about people who historically didn't have easy access to banks? Is fintech helping with financial inclusion?
Yes, absolutely. That's a really positive aspect. Financial inclusion is a big one. By using mobile tech, things like microlending, fintechs can reach people who were previously underserved, often in developing countries. Offering cheap, accessible products brings more people into the financial system. And that can actually be an opportunity for traditional banks, too, if they adapt and partner up.
That's a powerful point, broadening access. We also hear a lot about open banking. How does fintech fit with that?
Open banking is really interesting. It uses APIs, think of them as secure digital connectors, to let different systems talk to each other.
Okay.
It breaks down those old bank silos. So with your consent, other apps or services could securely access your bank data to offer you new things. It creates this ecosystem where banks and fintechs can actually work together.
So my banking app could potentially link up with my budgeting app or my investment platform, all in one view.
Potentially, yeah. That's the idea. More convenience, more integrated services. And related to that is this idea of embedded finance.
Ah, yes. Hearing that term more. What's that about?
Embedded finance is about weaving financial services right into other platforms you already use, like getting offered instant credit when you're buying something online.
Oh, like Klarna or Afterpay?
Exactly like that. Or having payment options built into your taxi app. Banks that partner with these platforms can find new customers without them ever needing to visit the bank's own app or website directly.
It makes finance feel less like a separate task and more just part of what you're doing. Seamless. Okay, and then there's the elephant in the room. Blockchain and tokenization. Big topics.
Huge potential there, yeah. Blockchain, that decentralized ledger, it could seriously speed up things like international payments or settling trades and potentially cut fees.
Right.
And tokenization, that lets you divide assets like property, maybe even art, into digital tokens. So you could own a small fraction of something expensive. It opens up investing to more people, could lead to totally new kinds of borderless financial products.
Sounds like it could really simplify some of the clunky, slow parts of old finance. But of course, doing more online means security is even more vital, isn't it?
Paramount, absolutely critical. Cybersecurity and digital trust. As banking goes digital, protecting your data, your money, it's non-negotiable. Both traditional banks and fintechs are pouring resources into advanced security to stay ahead of the criminals.
A constant battle, I imagine. And lastly, there's this growing focus on social and environmental issues, ESG. How's that playing out in banking?
ESG, environmental, social governance. Yeah, it's becoming really important. Customers, investors, they're putting pressure on banks to be more sustainable, more ethical. And you see fintechs popping up that focus specifically on green investments or social impact. They're attracting younger, socially conscious consumers. This pushes the traditional banks to think harder about ESG and build it into their main strategies.
So it's not just about the bottom line anymore. It's about being a responsible player, too. Wow, okay. It really feels like the whole banking world is being reshaped from, like, every angle.
Yeah.
So given all this, What's the future look like? Where is this heading?
Well, I think the key thing to remember is this isn't just a temporary phase. This globalization, driven by fintech, it's here to stay. It's irreversible.
Right.
And the future, I suspect, won't be just banks or fintechs winning. It'll be much more about collaboration.
Ah, okay. Partnerships.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Traditional banks have the customer base, the trust, the regulatory experience. Fintechs have the tech, the agility, the fresh ideas. Put them together, and you can get the best of both worlds.
So traditional banks need to really embrace the tech side.
They absolutely have to. It's not optional anymore. They need technology to improve the customer experience, stay efficient, and just remain competitive in this global game.
Now, we've mentioned tech a few times, but let's zoom in on one specific area. AI, artificial intelligence. How is AI making this global competition even fiercer in banking?
AI is a real game changer because it lets banks do so much more with the data they have. It's not just about processing transactions faster. It's about understanding customers on a much deeper level.
Right, the personalization aspect.
Precisely. AI can analyze patterns and behavior to offer services tailored right down to the individual, things that just weren't feasible before.
So even more personalized banking, driven by smart tech.
Definitely. And think about automation, too. AI can streamline loads of processes, onboarding, customer service queries, fraud checks. That makes banks more efficient. Plus, you get things like AI-powered chatbots offering instant help or algorithms giving personalized financial advice. It raises the bar for customer service globally.
It's almost like getting a personal financial assistant 24/7. You mentioned AI helping overcome some old banking hurdles. Can you give some examples?
Sure, security is a big one.
Mm.
AI fraud detection systems are way smarter than older methods. They learn from millions of transactions to spot suspicious activity much faster and more accurately.
Okay, that's crucial.
Then there's operational efficiency. Automating routine back-office tasks frees up staff, cuts costs, makes digital services quicker, and customer experience, as we said, personalization, real-time help. AI drives better satisfaction, builds loyalty.
It really does sound like it's going to reshape things fundamentally, much like tech did with social networks in the media world. Okay, so given all this pressure and opportunity, what should traditional banks actually do? How can they embrace this customer-focused digital future and, thrive?
It's a big shift they need to make. It's not just about tacking on a mobile app. It needs to be a holistic digital transformation, putting the customer truly at the heart in everything.
So more than just back-end system upgrades.
Way more. There are concepts like UXDA's dopamine banking, focusing on creating positive emotional experiences online, or their digital experience branding, ensuring everything looks and feels consistent, user-friendly, trustworthy across all digital channels.
Making it feel good to use, not just functional, building trust online.
Exactly. And there are key strategies. First, that deep digital transformation, really focusing on user-friendly design, smooth customer journeys. Second, collaborative innovation, smart partnerships with fintechs, embracing embedded finance. Third, really understanding customers through empathy. Using data not just for targeting, but for genuine personalization, building real connections.
That focus on empathy seems key. What else?
Well, they need to get smart with regulation, maybe using RegTech, technology that helps with compliance, and double down on cybersecurity, obviously, to build that digital trust. They also need to rethink their branches. Maybe they become advice hubs or community spaces.
Interesting, repurposing the physical space.
Yeah, and prioritizing financial wellness, offering tools, education, guidance. That builds stronger relationships.
Becoming more of a partner, not just a vault.
Exactly. Cultivating loyalty, maybe through rewards or building online communities. Ensuring the experience is consistent, whether you're on the app, website, or talking to someone.
Omnichannel, right?
Right. And constantly listening to users, getting feedback, co-creating solutions, and underpinning everything. Ethical data use, being transparent, using AI responsibly.
Wow, it's a huge list, a massive undertaking, really. Touching technology, culture, strategy, ethics.
It is. It's fundamental. But if they really integrate that user empathy, smart collaboration, and build trust, traditional banks can absolutely find their place and succeed in this new global digital financial world.
So, wrapping up our deep dive today, it seems clear banking is in the middle of this profound, unstoppable shift. Fintech and globalization are the big drivers, and it really does echo what happened with media moving online.
Yeah, and the result is more access to financial tools, more personalization, hopefully more transparency for everyone.
And it sounds like the future isn't necessarily banks versus fintech, but maybe banks and fintech working together.
That seems the most likely path, I think. Strategic partnerships, combining strengths, and ultimately you, the customer, should benefit from that collaboration.
Absolutely. A fascinating time for finance. So here's something to think about as we finish. How are these changes in global digital banking going to affect you personally? How will you manage your money differently? And what new opportunities might pop up, especially around maybe getting better access to services or more advice tailored just for you?
Good question to ponder.
Definitely. Okay, that's all we have time for on this deep dive. Thanks for tuning in.